And thanks for the opportunity to speak to you. I'm Craig Opperman. I'm Chief Executive Officer of Looking Glass Youth and Family Services. And I'm here tonight to thank the city staff and the Community Development Block Grant Committee for the recommendation of Looking Glass for CDBG funds to acquire the property at 931 West 7th Street. And in fact, I'm actually very honored to be on a list, our agency on a recommended funding list with Pearl Buck and Food for Lane County and Head Start and St. Vincent de Paul. All of these agencies provide vital services to our community, and CDBG funds help keep our fragile safety net intact. Specific to Looking Glass, these funds allow us to provide faster and more efficient services to runaway and homeless youth in Eugene. This property literally borders our current New Roads facility, which provides comprehensive programs to hundreds of runaway and homeless youth each year. Adding this property will give us a small but significant campus-type environment. Giving youth a porch and a yard to spend social and recreational time waiting for services is extremely valuable. This will reduce the time that homeless youth spend in locations downtown. This improves our community, it increases Looking Glass's service facilities, and most importantly of all, it creates a safe and comfortable space for runaway and homeless youth that's not currently available to them. So I thank you for your consideration and support of the CDBG funding proposal for Looking Glass and all of us. And I did want to mention, rather than have a dozen of us testify saying basically the same thing, we have one other person, Robin Burke, is going to speak on this issue. There are a couple other people I will introduce who won't testify that are here also. Liz Schwartz is our Director of Runaway and Homeless Youth Services, and Bill Randall is on our board. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Robin Burke is next, followed by Karen Edmonds.
Good evening. I'm Robin Burke from Eugene, Oregon. I am on the board of directors for Looking Glass Youth and Family Services, and I am also the region president for U.S. Bank. So I'm here primarily on the behalf of Looking Glass, really in support of Craig and everything he just shared with you about New Roads and the homeless youth facility that we have there. The day that I saw the house go up for sale that was right next to that facility, I said, oh, this is like a dream come true. This is a perfect place to expand the services to those youth who really, truly need a place that they can congregate and have it be safe and have an outdoor space and all of that. And then with my U.S. Bank hat on and being a business person whose offices are right here in downtown Eugene, it's so apparent to us that the health of the downtown would be greatly improved if those kids had a place to go. I know there's issues with developing the downtown area and with the situations that we have with a lot of youth just on the streets, and I can't think of a better place for them to be that's centrally located, that offers great services as Looking Glass does, and really provides them with a safe environment and does really what we need for the health and safety and viability of downtown Eugene. So thank you.
Thank you. Karen Edmonds is next, followed by Mary Layton.
Good evening, Mayor Piercy, members of the council, and our distinguished guests this evening. I'm Karen Edmonds. I'm the Programs and Services Director at Food for Lane County. We also have in the audience Josie McCarthy, who's our Family Dinner Program Manager here. And I'm here speaking on behalf of another nonprofit capital facilities proposal from Food for Lane County that's part of the Federal Community Development Block Grant proposals that you're reviewing tonight. And Food for Lane County is the regional food bank for our county, and we alleviate hunger by creating access to food. And one of the ways we do this is at our dining room. And the dining room is a restaurant that's downtown, and it provides hot meals 4 nights a week, free of charge. We've applied for CDBG grant funds to improve the accessibility of the dining room. So we've applied to replace our front doors, which are currently 2 doors that are 29 inches wide that have to be opened manually, and both have to be held open for a motorized cart or a wheelchair to come through. They have to be held open by another person. We would like to replace that with a single door that's at least 32 inches wide and has a push-button automatic door. So it will improve the accessibility for people in motorized carts, people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, people on crutches, people carrying heavy bags, and improve the ability for all of the diners who are at the dining room to be able to leave in case of an emergency evacuation. The second part of the project is to improve accessibility to the bathrooms. So there's 2 unisex bathrooms within the dining room, and we'd like to have a push-button automatic door on both of those, also for accessibility. So the dining room is a really unique environment in that it's a meal site, but it's a far cry from Depression-era soup kitchens, in that it's a restaurant, and when people come in, they're greeted by community volunteers, and they have a meal that's served, and then their drinks are served by volunteers. And the entire atmosphere is one where people are treated with dignity and respect, and it's a really place for food to be a catalyst for community. So it's a great restaurant environment, a cafe environment, and it has a lot of community volunteers and community support. So we believe that this project will really bring full circle the idea of serving people with dignity and will allow for independence and accessibility for all of our diners. So thank you very much for your consideration of the proposal tonight.
Thank you. Next is Mary Layton, followed by Teresa Bishop.
My name is Mary Layton. I live at 4046 Normandy Way in Betty Taylor country. I'm here to ask your help in Network Charter School's quest for a new home downtown. Network Charter is a public charter school, enrolls 120 students, grades 7 to 12. Our program is taught by 5 community organizations, each of which has a broader mission. We deliver a standards-based education leading to a regular diploma. Our current site is substandard for a school. We've managed to eke out 1 more year, but we have to open in a different location in the fall. We've looked all over town with money in our hand and have not found any place that you can get even close to school code for as little as $250,000. Never mind anywhere downtown. We need to be downtown. That's where all the supports for our program are. We have to be in the heart of the city. We have to be where kids can get to the satellite campuses easily. We have to be where the neighbor's interest is served by helping us help kids learn how to be good neighbors, how to live well. We are good neighbors. We have cordial relations with the businesses on our block and around there. We are accountable for student behavior. If a problem occurs, we reply immediately. Actually, the kids all know if the light's on in my office, they will be brought to me, no matter what time of the day it is. And so it tends not to happen too often. Our present quarters are neglected. They look funky, but that's not us. We paid for the paint to match the color of the walls outside so that when graffiti happens on the sidewalk side, it gets fixed right. We purchased, we have some mischief makers from the Bermuda Triangle, broke a window in the middle of the night. Within 24 hours, we had it covered and painted to match the walls. We take care of what the property looks like on the street level. We have a reliable income. It ain't a lot, but you can predict it from year to year. We know exactly what we can afford, and we've been saving money all these years. We had a deal, and we had to back out of the deal. It wasn't your fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. It cost way more than we thought it was going to cost to move into the building. And by the time we found that out, we realized we couldn't pay the asking price. Nobody would help us raise that kind of money. We were told the building wasn't worth it. We've asked you today in a letter to reconsider the Community Development Block Grant application, shift that application to acquisition, so we'd have a little bit more money to buy that building. It's the only building we found that's even remotely useful to us. I don't know what you'll decide to do about that request. I know it's within your authority, but whether you'll think it's prudent, I can't say. Whatever you decide, I urge you to do what you can to find us a home downtown. That's where we belong. We really need your help to do this. We need your clout, and I ask you to do it.
Thank you. Teresa Bishop is next, followed by Molly Stafford.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Bishop, the Planning Director with Arley & Company. I am here this evening on behalf of Western Steel, based out of Washington. They're requesting the City Council to grant emergency relief for new large developments that will create jobs and increase city revenues for tourism and the arts. Specifically, they're requesting you to grant deferral of system development charges for the new hotel they are planning to construct in Northeast Eugene. Currently, the city requires SDCs to be paid at the time a building permit is issued. In 2006, Western Steel submitted planning applications for a new 3-story, 115-room hotel on Crescent Avenue in Northeast Eugene. They're at a crossroads. They have worked diligently. They have their building permit ready to be picked up. The challenge they face is a $472,000 SDC fee that they need to somehow finance in their construction loan in order to begin building the hotel. If there was a way for the city to grant them a deferral of that fee until the hotel is complete, they can finance it through the permanent financing that will be available at that time when there's an actual revenue stream and the building is open for business. In this particular case, deferral of the SDC fees to final occupancy will not negatively impact the city's infrastructure, as the impacts will not occur until the building is open. And in closing, if you hesitate allowing SDCs to be deferred for all commercial projects, please consider granting relief for projects with large SDCs, such as this one, or for hotels, given their unique ongoing revenue source for the city and other public benefits that they provide. They are facing a challenge, and any relief you can provide would be greatly appreciated. I did submit a letter to your staff from Western Steel, and they look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Molly Stafford is next, followed by Dave Halleck.
I'm Molly Stafford. I live at 437 East 11th Avenue, which is in Ward 3. I speak in support of providing community development block grant funds to help Network Charter School purchase the building at 858 Pearl Street. I am an interested citizen who lives very near downtown. I believe the bright and energetic students who attend Network Charter School are an asset to our city center. The school has forged alliances with many downtown businesses that provide internship opportunities for students that I hope will be continued. Please encourage the city staff to help the school stay in downtown Eugene. I would not like to see it homeless. Thank you for caring about the students who are our future. Thanks.
Thank you. Dave Halleck is next, followed by Tyler Barrett.
Thank you. My name's Dave Halleck. I've lived in Eugene since 1960, and I hail from Betty's ward. As a lifelong cyclist, I founded the Disciples of Dirt Mountain Bike Club in 1987, and I'm here tonight because a trail, the Ribbon Trail, recently opened in Eugene, but bicycles were excluded from using that trail, at least, well, all bicycles. I happen to be a cyclist. I commute to and from work, but mainly I ride dirt. I ride mountain bikes. The Ribbon Trail is an extension of the Ridgeline Trail system, the majority of which is closed to mountain bikes. And as a mountain biker, I'm here to express my disappointment that the city would open a new section of the Ridgeline Trail and not include mountain bikes in its use. Mountain bikers, specifically the club that I represent, which on our listserv we have about 400 members. Our club, the Disciples of Dirt, performs hundreds of man-hours every year in Lane County, opening up trails to the public. There's a lot of what we call snow down and blow down throughout the winter, and we go through with chainsaws and loppers and open those trails up. We do a lot of work. We've built trails, we've built new trails, we've maintained trails. And we would like to be involved in the Ridgeline system. We would like the Ribbon Trail to be open to mountain bikers. We want to be involved. We want to build partnerships. We're happy to help. We want to offer our expertise. We'd like to solve problems. We'd like to work together. And we'd like access to the Ridgeline Trail system. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyler Barrett is next, followed by Steve Strickland.
Hello, I am Tyler Barrett. I'm 17 years old and a junior at South Eugene High School. I'm also a member of the Disciples of Dirt mountain bike group, as Dave Halleck just mentioned. The way I got involved in the Disciples of Dirt was showing up for a trail work day, and being so young, I did not have a car, so to go riding, I needed my fellow DoD to give me rides to trails and trail work. And I learned quickly that in the world of mountain biking, it's more than just going fast and looking cool. The way you earn true respect is showing up for trail work, and that's what they look for, and that's my way to get rides. If I come out and help, they'll get me there. And I have several friends in the Eugene area that are interested in mountain biking, and they want to go out on a ride with me. And the fact that I have to provide a vehicle to get there and a way to get them to a trail that costs money to get to, and a car and a license, is a struggle, and it makes me sad sometimes that I can take them on the Headwaters Trail, but that's only like a couple of miles worth of trail when we have all these trails that I run constantly and they're not open to bicycles. Now, I'd also like to invite any of you to come join us on a mountain bike ride anytime you want locally, and we could show you how much fun it can be, and it can get you out there and interested. Now, another point that I'd like to bring up is that people say, yeah, we have all these bike paths that we can go on and ride our bicycles, and they are great. We just got voted top number 5 in the top bicycling cities for Bicycling Magazine. But I would also like to say that on December 31st of 2009, I was riding my bike to go to one of these bike paths, and I was struck by a car. My injury caused me to have to miss school for over a month due to a pelvis injury that wouldn't allow me to sit down. I'm just now starting to get back on the bike and out there building some trails. And so it doesn't make too much sense to me when trails such as the Ribbon Trail that would provide perfect access for commuters to get to Lane Community College and anywhere up above 30th without taking 30th itself would provide a way to not get hit by cars. I mean, I can say truthfully, I've never been hit by anything in the woods. I've never hit anything in the woods, and it's not that hard to avoid a hiker. Please help us get outside and play. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Strickland is next, followed by Benjamin Beamer.
Hi there, Steve Strickland, 97408. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the reason I'm here is the Ribbon Trail specifically. You guys have done a great job putting together an open space plan for Eugene. We've invested a huge amount of dollars in the river trails. I live in North Eugene, out off Gillum Road, and for me the connector and accessibility to the rivers trails is amazing. But it separates me from the ridgeline. And so to get from the river trails that we've spent so much time and energy promoting, and a big reason that we're number 5 in the nation as far as a bicycling town, there's a separation from that in the ridgeline trails. And the access point, and one of the easiest access points is the Ribbon Trail coming up through Hendricks Park up to 30th. Gives you easy access to the Knickerbocker Bike Bridge in Fairmont. It's an easy place to cross Franklin. It's very low traffic area of Eugene, so it gives us an easy way to get up to the ridgeline and stay off of main arterials. Let the cars use those and stay away from those. But the bigger issue in whole is that we have a huge amount of trails up along the ridgeline that are separated from a lot of usage down on the river where you see a lot of people riding bikes. And we can connect those two pretty easily. And I've seen some of the long-term and long-range planning for the extension out into West Eugene of the Ridgeline Trail, and how some of those connectors are thought to come back down towards Fern Ridge and come back down to the valley floor. We need an access point on the east side of that trail network so that you can make a loop either way. And then following that up with the access point that we're going to have with Arley's property that's going to be developed, and an access point to Lane Community College and out to further parts of Lane County, down into Cresswell and some of that. This is a natural arterial that will take us up there. So I look at it more as a transportation corridor than I do a single track trail or a hiking trail or whatever it may be coined as. It's an arterial for us to have access to that area of Eugene and the Ridgeline Trail.
Thank you. Benjamin Beamer's next, followed by Steve Mertz.
Hello, my name is Benjamin Beamer. I'm from beautiful Oak Ridge, Oregon, just outside the community here in Eugene. We've been promoting ourselves as the mountain bike capital of the Northwest. I'm the chairman of the Greater Oak Ridge Area Trail Stewards, and I also serve on the International Mountain Bicycling Association Northwest Regional Leadership Advisory Council. And if acronyms had power, I would be a superhero. Bicycles connect three key elements in our society. They connect our recreation with our fitness and our transportation. It helps us to engage youth and bring them into a different idea of what transportation is. If you can get a kid on a bicycle at an early age, they're likely to stay on a bicycle. In my experience in Oak Ridge, we welcome Eugene mountain bikers with open arms. They were great stewards of the trails in the Oak Ridge area, and just last weekend we had a work party and over 200 hours of volunteer time was served in our national forests. The idea of conflict in our area has been unfounded because everybody has access and nobody gets squeezed out of the piece of the pie. If we continue to put mountain bikes just in a small area of trails, there will be conflict. To have it so everybody has access to trails, mountain bikers have been stewards of the land, and they have respect for others. Mountain bikers are there in the woods just like all other trail users. They're there for that experience. They simply use a different mode of transportation. The mountain bicycling community asks to be participants in decisions made, and for transportation and for recreation. The mountain bikes are transportation too, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Steve Mertz, followed by Zarifa Spain.
Hi, my name is Steve Mertz. I'm from 97401 South Eugene. As a local business owner of the Lapping Planet Cafe, which caters to an active and health-minded clientele, and being a dad to 4 young boys, the Department of Parks and Open Spaces' decision to ban bicycles from the Ribbon Trail disappoints me on a couple of different levels. From an economic standpoint, I feel that Eugene should keep itself positioned as an interesting city to those that consider themselves outdoor enthusiasts. We have a lot of people here right now that are considered outdoor enthusiasts. If we look around the communities near us, Bend, Ashland, Corvallis, Portland, Seattle, and Spokane, all have begun to embrace the use of bicycles on select trails close to their urban core. As a result, this can only have positive benefits on their local economies, as more close-in trail access will mean more bicycle sales and repairs and bring in the kind of people that we would want to have in our communities. By continuing the ban on bikes on any new addition to the Ridgeline Trail system, in this situation, the Ribbon Trail, all we're doing is selling ourselves short as an outdoor recreation community. What we are doing is funding the automotive industry by pushing those that do like to get into the woods for health and recreation into their cars to travel to somewhat distant location, and making the appeal of mountain biking smaller and not opening up to a larger group of people. There's approximately 12 bikes shops in the Eugene area. I mean, that's a lot of bikes being sold. People want to get out and ride them, and they just don't want to ride them on the river paths. They want to get out into the woods. They want to enjoy all the natural areas around here. Some of those bike shops are doing well, some probably not. I can assure you that if the city of Eugene started to open up off-road trails to bikes, more of these shops would benefit. And then on a family level, I like getting my kids outside to enjoy what this area has to offer as much as I can. But unfortunately, going on hikes doesn't really excite them too much anymore. Whenever we plan a camping trip, one of the first questions is, are there trails that we can ride? Once they're in the woods, they're commenting on all the natural wonders that in our great state. Mountain biking is a great recreation to get kids really excited about being outside. And it gets them away from their computers, away from their Game Boys, away from televisions. When we discovered the Headwaters Trail and Baldy Trail here in Eugene, the kids were excited to ride these. They were really excited to get out there. They thought that this was great. They're like, wow, we can do this here in town. But, you know, as any runner can tell you, running the same route over and over can get really monotonous. And Baldy's not exactly beginner level. If the Arley property and other areas such as Moon Mountain and Bloomberg Park get multi-trail access, which I hear is being talked about quite a bit, the Ribbon Trail will be a crucial access to get over to that part of the town. I mean, if the Ribbon Trail is not open to bikes, then the kids are going to have to get on their bikes and ride up 30th Avenue. And I'm sure any of you that are parents that have kids probably don't want your kids riding up 30th Avenue. And most of them are probably going to say, that's too high.
Thank you. Next is Arifa Spain, followed by Jan Aho.
Hello, I'm Zarifa Spain, and I live in the River Road area of Eugene. I'm a board member of Network Charter School and a parent as well. My son is completing his third year there as a junior. I'm here to support Network Charter School's principal, Mary Layton, and her request that community development block grant funds be allocated to assist in the purchase of a new building for the school, and that the council help in any way possible to make possible our purchase at 858 Pearl Street, without which we may find ourselves homeless and in danger of our existence. Network Charter School fulfills a vital and unique function in Eugene's educational system. And in the 7 years it's been in existence, the staff has worked tirelessly and creatively to help engage their students in their own education and to help them become involved and productive members of our community. I thank you very much for any help you can be to us now.
Thank you. Next is Jan Aho, followed by Ann Williams.
Thank you. My name is Jan Aho. I live in Dexter, Oregon. That's all right, Kitty. I live in Dexter, but I'm here as Executive Director of ProBuck Center to speak on behalf of asking that you approve the recommendations that will be coming to you for the allocations for the CDB block grant. In that, our proposal was for air conditioning for a vocational training center where over 120 adults with developmental disabilities work. When we bought this new facility, we thought we were really doing a great thing when we put in windows and that opened the outdoors, but unfortunately what we also let in was a lot of heat. And the measures that we took to cut the heat were inadequate for our clients. And I can sum up what one of our clients who spoke at the work group, your committee group for the CDVG advisory group, let me give him the right title, who spoke there said, his name is Mike D. I'll use his last initial, and he said, it gets hot, I can't work, I get cranky, I have to go home, and I get no money. And I think he summed it up for a lot of the clients, because last year, from June to September, we have it over 55 days that were over 80 degrees. And for some of our clients who have medical issues, whose bodies really don't regulate their temperatures very well, it really creates not only discomfort, but really truly medical issues and crises for them. So we're asking that you approve the request that's coming forward, and we thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Jan. Next is Ann Williams, and the last one is Majeska C. Screen.
Members of Council, I'm Ann Williams. I'm Housing Programs Director for St. Vincent de Paul. I want to take a moment to thank the CDBG Advisory Committee for some really challenging work that was in front of them. I think we're all looking at making some very tough choices. For those of us who applied for nonprofit capital improvement grants, we were basically looking at choices. We had applied for the final two sections of the roof that covers the Eugene Service Station and our Voc Services Department. Part of the roof failed last year, and we had no choice but to basically make the necessary repairs or lose walls. We're in approximately the same position, though the bill won't be quite as high. But we're also facing some real budgetary challenges as the Human Services Commission budget goes forward, and as general fund money gets tighter. The last thing I want to be able to do is close the service station on Sunday because I need to put a new roof on that section of the building. But those are the kinds of trade-offs that I think each and every one of us who's come before you tonight would be facing if it weren't for the nonprofit capital improvement. So we urge you to act on the recommendations of the advisory committee, and I think on behalf of all of us who applied, I really want to thank them for their hard work and the difficult choices they had to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker, Majeska C. Screen.
Majeska C. Screen. I live near 5th and Van Buren in Ward 6. I'll just be brief. I want to speak in support of what Mary Layton and the others for Network Charter School have raised with you, and also for the mountain bike community. Lots of really articulate comments here. Almost if the Ribbon Trail was open, I'd sure want to be out there and use it with a bicycle. But for Network Charter School, I'd just like to mention the triple bottom line that the city is trying to use. And I haven't really heard it mentioned in relation to a lot of stuff downtown. And just now want to mention it in relation to Network Charter School and this building that they're trying to get and need some extra special help from the city, which I really hope that you do all you can to help them find a place to be downtown. And it sure sounds like that building on Pearl is the place where you should assist them to be. The triple bottom line thing, of course, is about making decisions based on economics, environment, and social issues. And it seems to me that this is a really good example of a time when the social issues kind of outweigh the financial, economic ones, and would really contribute a lot to the downtown environment if Network Charter School can stay there. So I haven't tried to use that matrix tool that I think the city developed for the triple bottom line. Last time I looked at it, it was really pretty overwhelming. But I think just if that tool doesn't help see a way to prioritize social issues in a case like this, then I'd say that tool needs some adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you. Close the public forum and ask for comments from City Council. And before I call on others, I just want to join all of you who came tonight in thanking the CDBG Advisory Committee. Myself, we'll be talking about this later this evening. Thank you all for coming. We certainly can't, all of us together, can't provide all the services we'd like to provide, and the need grows. And so, we're just very proud that you're part of our community and the work that you do. And just want to take this opportunity to thank you publicly for what you contribute to our community. Thanks very much. I also wanted to say that you did a really good job of presenting the mountain bike issue, and so thank you for coming. And I know we'll all be kind of looking into that and taking your concerns seriously. Don't know where it's going to lead to, but you certainly have raised the issue. So that's what you're supposed to do when you come and talk to us at City Council. So you just did a great job with that. And I love Laughing Planet, so glad to. Councilor Clark.
I too want to say thank you to everybody who came. Manager, I'm wondering if you'll refresh my memory what we did with the last time we had a conversation around SDCs. It was to postpone the increase that we did, but we stopped that in April. Do I have that right? Until April, right? I'm at least, I know that that hotel in that particular area could be quite an economic benefit. I'd be interested in knowing what our options are in regard to the testimony that was given, that the young lady mentioned, what's possible for us to consider, I mean, in memo format.
Good.
Okay. I also wanted to say thank you to the Disciples of Dirt. You guys are all about half crazy, and I'd be willing to take you up on the ride thing, but I've seen pictures of Davy Sprocket here riding into the ocean in the winter on purpose, and that scares me just a little bit. I might take you up on it, though. I don't know.
Sprocket.
I'd really love to have also a memo from Johnny Medlin on why they decided to ban bikes from the Ribbon Trail. If we could, please. Thank you, sir, very much.
Councilor Zelenka.
I'm interested in about the SDC deferral. Have we done deferrals of SDCs to occupancy before? That would be one of the questions that I'd like you to answer in your feedback to us. Disciples of Dirt, you guys did a good job. You're supposed to bring the issue up so it gets our attention. You've done that. I'm interested in learning more about mountain bikes on the Ribbon Trail, especially how they are compatible with hikers, not bikers. And then on a more somber note, today is the 24th anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster. That meltdown resulted in an explosion of radioactivity into the atmosphere. And Chernobyl was only 60 miles away from the city of Kiev, and that disaster resulted in the permanent evacuation and relocation of 220,000 people with a dead zone around that plant. And the sad part is that we're still experiencing that disaster today. One recent study by the New York Academy of Sciences just recently came out, and that's the oldest scientific society in the United States. Thomas Edison, Thomas Jefferson, Einstein were members of that organization. They recently published a study that estimated that the ultimate death toll is nearly 1 million people from that disaster worldwide. And so as we contemplate nuclear power as a potential answer to global warming, I think it's important for us to keep in mind that story and its lessons, that we should keep them in mind as well.
Councilor Poling.
Well, a couple of things have already been brought up. One is I, too, am interested in the memo on why the bikes have been banned from that one particular trail. And the mayor also brought up, made some comments about the needs that are being faced by the different organizations in our community currently and the available funds. And, you know, we have a process in place to filter those requests for those needs. And I think it's imperative that we as a council make sure we adhere to that process. Unfortunately, somebody's going to lose out somewhere. You know, we don't have the endless pots of money that people would like us to have, and unfortunately, we have to make the tough and final decision. I think the process that was followed to go through the selection on the recommendations by the committee came up with some really good, worthwhile recommendations. Of course, everybody's project is of the utmost importance if you talk to them, so we have to make that decision. And then the final thing on the SDCs, if I remember, and I received a phone call from the gentleman that's in charge of this project this afternoon. I had a brief discussion with the city manager about this. Several months ago, we took action to extend the deadlines on applications. I think up to 3 years. Is that correct, John?
What we said is that if you had a permit, that the permit would not expire, so that would extend for an additional 3 years.
Yeah. So basically what this company has done is they've done all their due diligence. They've submitted their application, which expires June 1st, and they have to come up with almost $500,000 in SDCs to start turning dirt on a project that, like Councilor Clark said, will be a worthwhile project and economic boost into that part of the community. So I, too, am very interested in seeing if we can take some immediate action now, and if necessary by ordinance, see if we can make a change in the ordinance where we can defer the collection of the SDCs until the certificate of occupancy is issued, especially in situations like hotels and motels. Thank you.
Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, everyone, for coming down. Great testimony from the bike people. I have a question regarding Network Charter School, I suppose for the manager and perhaps the attorney or anyone else that might know. Ms. Layton is requesting to reinstate the loan application and seems to think that the council has the authority to do that. Can we in fact do that?
Yeah, I believe that you could. Is my mic on?
No.
I believe that you do have the power to do that. It may be that the staff who are most familiar with this project tell you that they want some time to bring it back to you.
Yeah.
Because it will involve moving some money around or perhaps taking some line items off of what they're proposing tonight.
Should I make a motion tonight, or can staff look at that and bring it back to us?
When the item comes up, I think if there's a staff introduction, maybe they can address that for you. It's the kind of thing that normally we want to bring back to you, and I think you do have Wednesday as an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to I think it'd be good for us to have a little more time to reflect on it, because we just got the information when we sat down tonight. The reason I bring that up is because I think it would really be tragic if Network Charter School just went away from downtown. I think they really add a lot, and I'm not the only person that works downtown that thinks that way. There are a lot of people that do. So anything we can possibly do to assist them would be really good. Thank you.
Councilor Taylor.
Thank you. First, I'm thanks to everyone, but I'm not in favor of postponing the SDCs for something that isn't downtown, and we don't even know whether if a hotel is built out there, it would even produce any business or any tax money. I have a question. Can CDBG funds be used for Network Charter School?
Yes, there are eligible activities or capital purchases that CDBG monies can be used for Network Charter School.
Well, I really think usually the committee decides what we're going to do with CDBG and we just okay it, but I think we might take a little more time to look at this and decide which things are more important. That would be my preference. Thank you.
Okay. I just closed out that part of our comments after the forum by saying I think I speak for all of us that we all think Network Charter School is important. It's just what makes good sense fiscally. We value the kids and we value the school. And I don't think there's any doubt about that, no matter how this ends up. I want to be very clear about that. Okay. Going to move on to item number 2 on our agenda, and that's a consent calendar. Council President.
Move to approve items on the consent calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Poling.
I didn't mean to scare everybody away there.
Yeah, I would just like to state that on the minutes from January 13th, AIS pages 36, 37, it's also page 4 and 5 of the council minutes. There's multiple spellings of my last name. Let the record reflect it's spelled P-O-L-I-N-G.
And even though that's a little out of order in terms of the consent calendar, I think we heard it. We'll take care of it, right? So we don't need to pull it. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I think we're ready to vote on the consent calendar. Would you please vote? 6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. And I'll just say thanks to the newly appointed Judicial Evaluation Committee as well. All right. So item number 3, adoption of Resolution 505. Council President.
Move to adopt Resolution 5005, approving the Eugene Springfield 2010 Consolidated Plan for submission to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
City Manager? Oh, second, I'm sorry. Moved and seconded. City Manager, you want to introduce that topic?
Actually, I'll ask Stephanie Jennings
Good,
to
thanks,
just introduce and speak briefly about the topic.
Hi, good evening.
I just want to give you a little bit of background on the Eugene-Springfield Consolidated Plan. You have the memo, which I think provides a pretty good summary, and I just want to hit a few highlights. The purpose of this plan is to identify the needs of low-income persons as it relates to affordable housing, homelessness, and community economic development. It's also to create a broad strategic plan for how we're going to use the monies that we receive from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development over the next 5 years. While it's a requirement, it's also an opportunity to think strategically about how best to meet the needs of this group. And in completing this document, we really tried to take that approach to not only meet the requirements, but to also use it as an opportunity to engage with the community, with our partners, with other jurisdictions. So what you have before you represents the culmination of more than a year's work and was developed in collaboration with the City of Springfield, Lane County Human Services Commission, the Housing and Community Services Agency of Lane County, and many other partners. Staff have worked closely throughout this process with the Intergovernmental Housing Policy Board and the CDBG Advisory Committee, and this document comes to you with the full endorsement of both of those bodies. Briefly, the process for creating the plan, it is largely data-driven. We augment that data with information from surveys, like from the United Way Needs Assessment, from Lane County and local service agencies. We do outreach to the public. We did outreach to the public early in the process to help identify the needs. And then we prioritized the needs and established a strategic plan to respond to those needs. The completed draft was made available for public review and comment over the past month. And there really are some key findings from the needs assessment. Overall, I think we all know that there's decreased economic opportunity in Eugene and Springfield. There's a growing population of seniors, persons with disabilities, and others who are unable to work. More single persons and non-family households are joining our community, and we are getting some greater ethnic and racial diversity. More households cannot meet their basic needs. We know that 43% of households living in Eugene and Springfield have low incomes. And we also know that our homelessness count has increased in the past year. The high priority needs identified through this plan are for extremely and very low income owner and renter households, and persons with severe mental illness, alcohol and drug addiction, victims of domestic, and persons with developmental disabilities. And this is a piece that was in response to a public comment. We actually went through a process with the state to elevate the priority for this particular population. As it relates to community development, activities related to economic development and the provision of social services emerged as high priority needs. As you look in the plan itself, there are 5 goals for supporting affordable housing, continuing to increase the supply of affordable housing, continuing to rehabilitate the existing stock of affordable housing, create homeownership opportunities, create rental opportunities, and remove barriers to affordable and supportive housing. As it relates to community development, the first goal is to support a human services delivery system. The second is to promote economic development through diversification and creation of jobs. The third is to improve accessibility to public facilities. And then the fourth is to make strategic investments to improve low-income neighborhoods and other areas exhibiting conditions of slums and blight. I think that provides enough of a summary, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for that presentation. Councilor Pryor?
Thank you. I just wanted to speak up for a moment. Being on the Housing Policy Board, I wanted to publicly thank Stephanie and her staff for the incredible work they did on this. Not only is it really well put together and well researched, but if you look on page 20, it will begin to give you an idea of the number of opportunities, organizations, surveys, community meetings, and interest groups that were involved in the preparation of this. I'm just really pleased at the number of folks who had an opportunity to review this, participate in it, and kind of confirm the findings that are in here, which makes this more than a report that sits on a shelf. It makes it a report that can be used in the actual day-to-day operation of committees like the Housing Policy Board. So if you measured quality by the weight, this is definitely a heavy report, but it's nice to be able to say that its quality is also in the contents as well. So thank you very much. It was a great process, a great job.
And I just want to refer you back to the meeting we had, the conversation we had during our work session where we were talking about how we were going to meet some of these needs in our community. I think some of the work that you've done in this can help us with the strategies for meeting some of our goals. So we'll work it together. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And I was going to reiterate what Councilor Pryor has mentioned. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the consolidated plan. It is a once every 5-year plan, I believe, that comes out, and there's an immense amount of work that goes into it, and it's extremely important. And I also would just say thank you to Stephanie and the staff. Very talented staff, I think, has put together a really nice plan, and I concur with you, Mayor, that when we talk about those strategies for meeting those outcomes, you'll find a lot of good stuff here that really guides that conversation over the next many years.
And I hope that as the year progresses and we go through some of these discussions about how we're going to address homelessness or provide more housing opportunities, all the things that we're going to be need to continue to work on, that we'll remember that this plan is here. It doesn't have a very exciting name. I have to say the consolidated plan is kind of like, but
Maybe an acronym.
We can lobby HUD to make a change to that, yeah.
But I think it's important for the community to know that this work has been done and that this is on the top of our minds in many places in cities and county, and that we're all working together. And this shows the situation and the things that we are putting out in front of us. So thanks very much. All right, I think we're ready to vote on this. Would you please vote? 6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you very much. And now the next item on the agenda that we're just recently talking about is the approval of the 2010-11 funding allocations for Federal Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Programs. And before I have you put it on the table, I'll have Stephanie explain to us what it's all about.
So this is related to the consolidated plan, but it's a separate action item. Each year, the city develops an action plan and submits it to HUD, and basically telling them, here is what we're going to do with the CDBG and home funds that we receive each year. So it is a specific allocation with specific dollars attached to particular projects. Like the action plan, it's developed in collaboration with the City of Springfield, and we each do our own allocation processes. I'd like to talk about the recommended CDBG allocation first. As in previous years, staff worked closely with the CDBG Advisory Committee to review the proposed uses, hold a public hearing, and develop a recommendation for use of funds. Our focus was on greatest impact and readiness to proceed. The recommended allocation includes funding for the land banking program for affordable housing, operating funds for 9 social service programs, 5 nonprofit capital facility improvements, curb ramps, accessible pedestrian signals, microenterprise training, and program administration. The second part relates to the use of the Home Investment Partnership Program funds. The home recommendation is similar to previous years with funding for housing development, home ownership assistance, operating funds for community housing development organizations and administration. The housing development funds are made available through a housing RFP, and we'll bring the results of that RFP back to Council in late July, and you'll make a decision about which specific projects to support at that point in time as it relates to housing development. I understand that there are some questions related to the CDBG allocation, and I think what I can say is that the committee had a favorable impression of the network charter application. Network Charter withdrew their application before the final CDBG Advisory Committee meeting met. And that was really because it's going to require more than the CDBG funds to bring that entire project together. So as a result, it was not considered by the committee as part of their final recommendation. And so that is why you have the recommendation that is before you.
Thank you. Councilor Zelenka?
I had a question about attachment A.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Stephanie?
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of the middle box has administration, $450,000, which is almost 27% of the total amount. And in the definition, it has a whole bunch. Can you explain that? That's really high. So I'm sure it accounts for more than just what we would consider administration.
Well,
Because on the next one, the next part of the grant, in attachment B, administration only is about 9%.
So there are different rules and different requirements associated with each of the programs, and so one of the things HUD likes to do is as a condition of receiving these funds, they place a lot of requirements on us to administer things like our fair housing plan. So development and administration of fair housing is something that gets folded into the program administration costs. So I almost think that administration is a little bit of a misnomer because it captures a lot of regulatory requirements. Like, for example, some of the implementation related to some of the policy and regulatory requirements is actually covered with administration costs as opposed to being charged directly to the projects. So I agree that it is a significant sum of money. We have really tried to keep a cap on the administration, and this is a small increase over last year's, but prior to this past year, the amount actually hadn't increased for 5 years. So we really have been trying to explore every strategy possible for keeping a lid on those costs.
Good. You answered my second question. But I would suggest you expand the name of that, maybe planning and administration or something like that, so it's more representative of what's actually going on there as opposed to just overhead. Thanks. Good idea.
Councilor Brown?
Thank you. Did I hear you say that the committee or whoever was deciding on these, who gets this money, were not looking in favor on the Network Charter School? Because you thought that it was too small of an amount to allow them to complete the project?
No.
Did I hear you wrong?
So what happened is that Network Charter Schools, they responded to the request for proposals for the nonprofit capital facilities, and as a part of that process, there was an understanding that there were some other pieces of their deal that they needed to complete, and in addition to receiving the CDBG funds. And so we were working with them throughout the process. I think their application was perceived quite favorably by the committee, but prior to the final meeting of the CDBG Advisory Committee, they withdrew their application. And so it was not considered by the committee because there was no application to consider at that
They
point.
withdrew it. Okay, that makes sense. And it was, I see that initially it was for tenant improvements. They were thinking on making improvements at 858 Pearl.
Yes,
rather than,
they were.
I mean, they were planning on moving out of the Taco Time building, yeah. Okay, well, I'd like to, what happens if we put this back in the list of consideration? Will that just delay the final vote a little bit, or will the committee have to look at all of them again and decide if they can fit that back on, or
So
want to
at
fit
this,
it back on? It would allow them some time to, with this new information and possible new funding, to move ahead with their project. And then we would know probably pretty soon that it's either going to work for them or it's not going to work for them. I'd like to give them one more chance, is the reason I want to add them back on.
okay. At this point, our action plan is due to HUD on May 15th, and looking at the council schedule, I think it would be reasonable to reconsider this on Wednesday. If we push it much beyond then, given the budget committee requirements for next week, I think that that would probably put us in danger of not meeting the HUD deadline. So really, at this point, the CDBG Advisory Committee is advisory to you. It's advisory to staff, actually. And so the council has the ability to change the recommendation for the use of funds. So we could potentially bring this back at the Wednesday meeting.
Okay, I suppose that would require some kind of a motion.
It would.
Well, I'd like to so move that we delay a vote on this portion of the item, anyway, and bring that back Wednesday for reconsideration.
Second.
To add the Network Charter Schools application back into the consideration for CBDG.
I guess I just want to make sure I understand, and I don't know if your amendment will pass or not. If it passes, what Network Charter School is asking that that $100,000 be used for the acquisition of 858 Pearl. And so, and I guess if it passes and we get to Wednesday and it passes, I guess part of my question will be, is that direction to sell the building to Network Charter School? And I think there's more discussion to have about that than strictly this $100,000. So
I see what
if we
you're
get all the way
saying.
down
That's
to
not
that place, I guess
Yeah.
I'll want to make sure, and if this passes, I'll want to make sure if there's something else you're expecting from staff between now and Wednesday for that part of that discussion.
That's really not a lot of time, is it?
And I would also make the comment, as you consider this, that the city manager has sent you all an email with his recommendation currently dealing with that, the viability of that purchase, and so you know that, and you know that the good people at Network are been networking, and and they want you to reconsider. So that's you know all of those things, and so this is not without triggering all that whole larger discussion, I guess, is what I want to make clear before you decide how you want to vote on this. So the motion is out there.
I still want to do it. It says here, we believe these developments bring us closer to a deal acceptable to the city and the school. Now, it gives them a week. It gives them 10 days. Is it just this Wednesday? Just 2 days?
Yeah. 2 days.
Sorry, I was thinking 10 days. I'll withdraw the motion.
And you'll...
Yes, but I want to speak.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay, I want to make a different motion to postpone this for 2 weeks. Postpone our decision on this whole motion for 2 weeks. In the meantime, I don't know whether it will make any difference or not, but in the meantime, I'd like to know what things were added after Network Charter School withdrew their application. And also, what are the possibilities for this $100,000 making a difference? Thank you.
And
So that's a new motion, and we need a motion.
do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Do you want to speak to that?
And Stephanie can jump in here on the timing. I do think there is some concern about the timing as far as when we need to get the information back to HUD or whoever's doing that. And I think one of the things we want to be conscious of is I wouldn't want us to jeopardize the entire $1.6 million. And so if there's a different discussion we can have about Network Charter School outside of this, and the $100,000 towards acquisition will not change my recommendation right now for Network Charter School based on what I know. And so if that's the hope, it won't change my recommendation. The council may choose to do something different, of course. And so I would just be cautious about the timing. And Stephanie, if you want to weigh in on more specific about that, please do.
So timing, the report is due, and this is the completed printed report due to HUD on May 15th. And so really we need to be putting the very finishing touches on that earlier that week in order to get it to them in that time frame. So I think that a delay of 2 weeks would have some implications for receiving our money, because HUD has a 45-day period to review, and then we get our money on July 1st, and that could potentially create a delay in receiving those funds from HUD that are used for a wide variety of projects. And then I think the other question that Councilor Taylor asked was what would be taken off the list if Network Charter was added back in. And because it wasn't considered definitively at the final meeting, I can provide a little bit of conjecture, but based on the way the discussion went at the previous meeting, the last item to be identified for funding were the curb ramps and accessible pedestrian signals. The committee members prioritized the affordable housing, economic development activities, public service activities over the public accessibility improvements.
Thank you. Councilor Zelenka?
So I think the Network Charter School is a very admirable project and serves a good public
2 weeks from
need, but it also has to make economic sense. I'm not comfortable with this 11th hour process for a couple of reasons. One, we have to meet this deadline that HUD in order for us to get these monies, and this 2 weeks would put that in jeopardy, I think. The second is that I'm curious which of the excellent programs that we have on this list you would axe in order to give them $100,000. And if we gave them $100,000, my third point is you still don't get to where they need to get to, which is to be able to buy the building. So I'm a little puzzled by what we would be doing here. They need $500,000 in order to get to about the threshold of what our original request was. And they're not even close to that. So I can't support the motion the way it's proposed. I'm interested in having a conversation about what we can do for the Network Charter School, but I think this is an ill-placed attempt.
Okay, would you please vote on George's motion? Councilor Taylor's motion, excuse me. Oh, sorry, Councilor Brown.
Well, I just have one thing to say in answer to Councilor Zelenka. I don't know, there's land banking here for $151,000. We could take $100,000 from that. And then there are things we could do. Well, we don't. Yeah, it doesn't. We don't know what additional material that they have, and she probably should have included that in her memo to us today. But that's just an add.
Okay, so now I think we're ready to vote. Would you please vote? Yes. 2 in favor and 4 in opposition. It does not pass. Will you put the other motion on the table, please?
Move to approve the... I better turn on the microphone. First, move to approve the one-year action plan for use of federal CDBG and home funds in 2010 and 2011.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Don't see any further discussion. Would you please vote? 6 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. And with that, we finish our business of the day. Thank you very much.